What's going on YouTube? My name is John, and today we are taking a look at another set of high round runs in Call of Duty Zombies. And today we'll be taking a look at world record runs on Call of the Dead. Call of the Dead is one of those maps that's strange. It's relatively easy in the sense that you've got a big open space to train in front of the lighthouse. You got plenty of room, and for that reason it's actually a fan favorite map. A lot of people like Call of the Dead. Problem is that you're not really set up for high round runs. You don't have that many tools. There are no traps on this map, and weapons like the scavenger start to become duds really quickly. Especially in solo, you don't have a way to reliably kill hordes of zombies. And what I find really interesting about Call of the Dead as a map is just how far players are willing to go to achieve new heights on Call of the Dead. It's actually incredible. Before we jump into it, I just want to quickly mention that I'm running a sale on my channel. We're doing for the next month another campaign of Zombie Killer t-shirts, so if you want to check them out, a link is in the description. It's a great way to support me, it's a great way to support the channel, and it's a great way to get this awesome Zombie Killer t-shirt. You can get it as a t-shirt or a sweatshirt. I've been selling these off and on every so often, and I love this. This is one of the favorite shirts I've ever done on my channel, and a lot of people seem to really enjoy them. So that'll be available for this month only. After that, they'll be gone. If you want to get them now, I recommend it. A link is in the description. But let's jump into Call of the Dead. So as I mentioned, in solo, you're incredibly limited in the tools you have to kill the zombies. Your best bet is to run a trade strat with the scavenger and the ray gun, and this will work for the early part of the game, but begin to slow down with each passing round, and you don't have the luxury of a thunder gun that can always kill. The scavenger might seem like an incredibly powerful weapon, but it actually only does 11,500 damage on Pack-a-Punch and then jumps a little bit above 20,000 when you Pack-a-Punch it. It's a good weapon, but that damage drops off quickly as the zombie's health grows exponentially. If you get a new scavenger every round, it's actually a viable way to beat the rounds up until about round 54. You can beat an entire round with a single scavenger, assuming you're using all of your ammo efficiently and then pack-a-punching it and then using that ammo efficiently. It'll get you through every single round up until round 54, assuming you get a new one each round. So it works as a trade strat up until the 50s. But think about it in terms of total damage and total health that you need to inflict onto the hordes of zombies over the course of a game. A scavenger between its non-papped and pack-a-punch version can do about 828,000 damage. So say on round 50, if you face 11.917 hordes, and each horde roughly has a health of 68,900, to beat this round, you'll need to inflict a total of 821,000 ammo, which thankfully can be done with the scavenger. And this assumes that you're firing your scavenger efficiently into an entire horde each time. So round 54 is the last time you'll be able to beat the round with just one scavenger. After that, it's going to keep increasing. So by round 60, you'll need 2 scavengers to complete the round. And the number of scavengers per round will get insanely high, with the number of zombies increasing and the number of health for each zombie increasing. So it gets unstable. In co-op, you do actually have the VR11. In solo, it's a bit of a dud. It can turn zombies back into humans, and you can kill them one zombie at a time. And that eventually will be your only way to kill the zombies. We'll touch on that more as the game goes on, but it's incredibly tedious. In co-op, though, you have the ability to shoot your teammate and they will receive a brief period of insta-kill, and this is what's opened up the door for high round runs in Call of the Dead. It's a lot more feasible. As a result, Call of the Dead is one of the few maps in the history of zombies where the co-op records are actually higher than the solo records. I think Call of the Dead as a map viable for high round runs really first popped up on the Radar's community as well as mine when Relaxing End brought this strategy into the mainstream with his round 70 run, which at the time was the world record. This right here is classic 2011 gameplay. 4x3, grainy, and it's when Relaxing End really first burst onto the scene, really. It's a simple strategy. He and Christian R87 train in front of the lighthouse. They'd sit on opposite ends, not get in each other's way, and then once all the zombies were on the map, they would compile by the door of the lighthouse, shoot one another with the VR11, and mow down the zombies. And I honestly believe that video went viral back in the day. It really put Call of the Dead on the map as far as high round runs. People just kind of looked at it and said, well, there's no big wonder weapon, there's no traps, there's not much we can do. And then we realized the VR11 changes the game. Nowadays, Relaxing End's round 70 run doesn't even put him in the top 10 you need to crack at least round 100 to break into the co-op top 10s. So let's see how this strategy has evolved since 2011. It's been 9 years since Relaxing End's world record co-op run. Hopefully there's been some innovation, and hopefully people have gotten better at this map in solo as well, and that's what we'll be exploring today and seeing what some of the greatest zombie players are doing to change Call of the Dead world records. Co-op is normally the main event on Call of the Dead, and this is because that's where most of the highest rounds are being reached. But we're first going to talk about solo, because there's a bit of a mess going on right here. I warn you, we are entering controversial territory. So what this means is proceed with caution, watch where you step, keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle. It's going to get messy. I intend with this video to take a descriptivist approach. What this means is that I'm taking a non-judgmental approach to this video. I'm purely describing the situation, what went on within the game, how the run was achieved, and what people think happened within this run and why there is controversy. I'm not going to be giving my opinions, I'm not going to be sharing my feelings on it, or explaining what I think should or shouldn't be counted as a world record. That's for you to decide. I'm just going to purely describe the situation. Here's where we're at. Last week, Oxygen set the new Call of the Dead world record by reaching round 91. He beat the previous world record set by MACKANRULES, which was 88. Normally we would just crown a new world record, but Oxygen's run is controversial. There's speculation that Oxygen used save states in his run, which would allow you to save and load your game so that you can leave your application and start it again without losing your run. The easiest way to do this is with a virtual machine. With a virtual machine, you can save your current state of the virtual machine and then just end the virtual machine. Then when you're ready to start it up again, you can just restart the virtual machine and essentially pick up where you left off. Don't think of this like pausing the game, but think of this like pausing the entire computer. And that entire computer is running virtually within your computer. It's a little bit of Inception going on right here. Now, why would somebody do this? Why don't they just pause the game? Well, Black Ops has a literal limit of how long the application can stay open. It's roughly 25 days, after which you will get a black screen. And that black screen will stay like that for, weirdly enough, another 25 days, after which the game will run like normal. I know that sounds strange, but I'm not sure why, but that's what goes on. So if you're planning on playing a game for longer than 25 days, and this includes both when you're playing and when you're paused, you can use a save state to make sure that that 25-day timer isn't running when you're not playing. So you can pause the game and then use a save state of the virtual machine to end that virtual machine, and then restart the virtual machine, and your run will continue, but that 25-day timer hasn't progressed. And virtual machines aren't the only way around this limit. You can also use cheat engines and other speed hacks to skip that 25-day limit. But basically, you either use something like a cheat engine, a virtual machine, or some speed hacks to get around this 25-day limit, or you literally leave your screen black for 25 days, and then 25 days later, you can pick it up again. That's what goes on in really, really, really long games of Black Ops. And so the reason this run is in question is that many believe that Oxygen was in the game for longer than 25 days. So he most likely would have had to have used something for that black screen, like a save state or a cheat engine, which generally most people in the community don't feel should be allowed in the world record run rule sets. It's important to note that these rule sets aren't official or set in stone. They can change over time as attitudes about these things change over time, and therein lies the debate. Using save states doesn't diminish the skill used to complete the world record run, but it isn't a part of the proper game, and is something only PC players can do, and maybe only some PC players with good enough computers. If your computer is just barely good enough to run Black Ops, you probably can't do this. And so high round runs could have been extended had other players been playing with virtual machines, but they didn't, and it's not a part of the game or really the generally agreed upon rule set, and that's where the debate comes from, whether or not this game is legit because of that, and that's what is kind of going on. For this reason, I'm not going to say one is or isn't the world record. You can decide that for yourself. Right now, though, the two highest games on Call of the Dead are Oxygen's round 91 run and MACKANRULES round 88 run. So here we are now. We're nearly 10 minutes into this video and we haven't even begun to discuss the strategy yet. So let's finally do that. Like I said, you have the early game when the trade strat is viable. Think back to when I told you that you can get through round 54 with just one scavenger and round 60 with 2 scavengers. It's going to quickly get out of hand though, because the zombies' health will grow very quickly. It'll roughly double every 7 rounds or so. Doing a bit of a back of an envelope calculation, at round 90, which was the last round that Oxygen had completed, he faced 31.375 hordes of zombies, and each zombie will have 2,120,000 health. This means that each zombie will have the health of 8 George Romeros, and you're going to need 81 scavengers to beat that round. That's a fuck ton of box hits, and your game will crash if you hit the box too many times. So hitting the box for 81 scavengers to get through the round just is not feasible. So trading the scavenger 81 times in a round is not going to work. So what do players do? They move on to the VR11 and kill all the zombies in a round, one zombie at a time. I found this just insane. I didn't believe it. I'm like, you mean to tell me that you beat round 90 by killing them one zombie at a time, and every time you ran out of the VR11 you had to hit it again and go back to killing zombies one zombie at a time? It's stupid, but it's really the only practical way to kill the zombies. It's shockingly faster than trading for the scavenger. Remember how I said it's going to take you 81 scavengers to get through round 90? Well, it'll only take you 21 VR11s to get through round 90. It's not amazing, but 21 is absolutely better than 81. And Oxygen during his run took this into consideration when he was playing, and switched from hitting for scavengers and using explosives, which also risks the game from crashing, to the VR11 at around 86. And this is kind of the second phase of the game. If you can imagine, the first phase is when you're just using the scavenger and the ray gun and just mowing through the zombies' health, no matter how large it is. And then you have phase 2 where you just go to killing zombies one at a time with the VR11. And this is when the VR11 is most viable and the safest way to play in terms of preventing your game from freezing, and one of the faster ways to play Call of the Dead. And you can switch to it whenever, but Oxygen personally felt it was most optimal to do at round 86. That's kind of the decision-making / strategy that goes into a high round run on Call of the Dead. But you also need to remember that the Wunderwaffe will impact these runs as well. You're going to get one every time you kill George, which is nice, but you can only kill around 180 zombies with the Wunderwaffe, and George comes every other round, so it's not reliable. It's not something you can use to get through every single round. The rounds, though, where you do have a full Wunderwaffe at your disposal are slightly faster, though, since it knocks out a decent chunk of zombies in a given round. You go from being able to mow them down with the Wunderwaffe, though, to then going back and killing zombies one at a time with the VR11. Sometimes people try to hang on to their Wunderwaffes when they know that they might have a max ammo coming up, and if they feel that they do have one coming, what they'll do is start flopping in hopes that a max ammo appears. Flopping a horde, though, can take some time. At round 73, for example, it's going to take you roughly 15 minutes to flop an entire horde. George Romero can also trigger a max ammo to spawn every 4 to 5 rounds when you kill an electrified zombie, so players will also try to time their Wunderwaffes to get that max ammo. This can even go a step further. It's been done before where players will do the Easter egg and get the Wunderwaffe, then get George to trigger a max ammo, and then kill George to get 3 Wunderwaffes in the round. That's like the ultimate way, but you can only really do it once in game. Another thing players will do to increase their chances of getting a max ammo is by running what's called a first box strategy. This is when you reset your game until you get the weapons you want from the box without the box ever moving. Often this is a crossbow and a scavenger from the box, maybe a ray gun. And if the box never moves, then what happens is the game won't spawn fire sales, which then increases every other drop's likelihood in the drop cycle and increases your odds of getting a max ammo and makes the max ammos come more frequently. So players will literally reset their game, hit the box, try to get the weapons they want. If they don't and the box moves, then they reset their game. It's incredibly tedious, but when you consider that games are going to be running 70 hours long anyway, what's an hour or so of resetting your game to get the weapons you want from the box? This is something that Mackin did in his run to ensure that he will get max ammos more frequently. So he got the weapons he wanted from the box, killed George, got a Wonderwaff, and then used that Wonderwaff and flopping all the way till round 75. The box literally all game in his run did not move until round 75, which is pretty wild to think. After that, Mackin then used a trade strat with things like the Scavenger and the Ray Gun and the Matryoshka dolls, but then also relied on the VR11 much like Oxygen did. That is the current state of solo world records on Call of the Dead. MACKANRULES reached round 88, and this is what many consider to be the world record. Oxygen reached round 91. This is a very recent world record, and at the moment is embroiled in a bit of controversy. Some people don't consider it to be a legitimate world record because they believe he's using save states. It's up in the air right now. I'll leave that for you to decide. Let's now move away from the controversy that is the current Call of the Dead solo world records and move on to the co-op world records. Co-op's a lot more straightforward in terms of strategy, and it's where people are reaching unseen rounds and new heights. The current world record is 126 and is held by CONFUSINGWATER and JAIRO. When you watch them play, they're for the most part using that same original VR11 trade strat that was pioneered by the Relaxing End all those years ago. They'll train in front of the lighthouse and wipe out entire hordes with that insta-kill granted to them by the Pack-a-Punch VR11. It's only the Pack-a-Punch VR11 that grants you insta-kill when you get 27 shots with it. This means that you should be able to kill about 27 hordes of zombies with a single VR11. In theory, you should be able to seal a couple extra kills with it, but at minimum, you're trying to kill 24 zombies at a time, hopefully more. So if we go over to Zombicus, you can see that you should be able to get through an entire round with a single VR11 up until round 58. After round 58, you're going to need multiple VR11s, and then you're going to need to start running a trade strat with it to get it out of the box. The final round you'll see them play is round 126, which has a total of 120 hordes of zombies. So you estimate roughly they would need 5 VR11s to get through that round, which honestly sounds pretty tame when you consider that you need 21 VR11s to get through round 90 in solo. In fact, if you were at round 126 in solo, which I'm not sure is really possible, probably not because of resets, you would need 41 VR11s to beat that round. I should also mention that you'll see people in co-op also making use of George and the Wonderwaff that he grants as well. It's important to imagine the Wonderwaff as a free 120 kills every other round. It's absolutely massive in solo, but not as important in co-op, since you can get way more kills with the VR11 than the Wonderwaff. Assuming you kill at minimum 24 zombies with a single VR11, then you can easily kill more. You should be able to kill 432 zombies with the VR11. That's 3.5 times more kills than what you'll get with the Wonderwaff, so that's why it's less important to the strategy. It's nice to have, but it's not essential. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what people are doing in co-op to get through the rounds and set new heights. The current world record is 126, and this one, thankfully, is a lot less controversial than the solo record. At least I think. I'll find out after the fact maybe that it's not. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, maybe subscribe for more. I'm going to be continuing to cover world records, so if you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you'll enjoy the next one. And if you want, a link to those Zombie Killer tees are down in the description. You can get them as t-shirts and sweatshirts, and it's a wonderful way to support the channel while getting some awesome zombies merch, and I would greatly appreciate it. I'm going to go. Have a wonderful day, and bye.